All right, everybody. Hopefully you're able to hear me. There's not really a way to test, and I know that this isn't the best camera, so I'm sorry that it looks this way. This specific camera is for, it's just off my computer. It's just a webcam, so I don't know. It's what we have. But I wanted to talk about the surveys and the response to them and everything like that. First thing is I really appreciate all the responses that we got. We got 120 responses out of roughly 220 people who are on contracts, and that includes families. So we have like 280 members, but after you take the families into account and stuff, that's a huge chunk. So that's a lot of information and data to take in, and I really appreciate all of it. I tried to film this once before, but my computer couldn't handle all the data, so I decided to do it as a live stream here on YouTube. I'm doing it kind of incognito here, so I'm going to share the link now. Let me share it so people can see it, and you guys can watch along with me if you wish. You don't have to, though. So right now I'm sharing it to the top level group chat, which if you didn't know there was one, it's just top level group chat. You guys can always get in on that. Let me share this now. Control V. Okay, bam. All right, I put that into the group chat. All right, cool. So first thing I'm going to do, I haven't done a lot with this, so I'm going to see how I can share my screen. Oh, it looks like it's that easy. I'm going to pull this bad boy up. I think it's this one. Yep. And then we're going to share our screen. Maybe. Yeah. Chrome tab window. I want to share this window. All right, so this is the survey plan of action. So there were three major spots we identified, and I apologize, this isn't huge and beautiful and all that stuff, but it's kind of done quickly. First one is cleanliness, and then the schedules and progress analysis. So, if you're reading along, you can see that what I've written, so that's fine. But the first thing I want to talk about is like what you don't see, and what you don't see a lot of the times is how much stuff gets cleaned when you're not here. So what do I mean by that? I mean, like Tommy comes in at 2:30 and he's doing cleaning, changing trash, all that stuff, mopping the floors, vacuuming, all that kind of stuff. Kendall on Thursdays after teaching 6 a.m. class is here until the next class starts, and he's cleaning and all that kind of stuff. So lots of stuff that goes on that gets cleaned that you have no idea. The other thing I'm going to say is if you think that we're dirty, you haven't been to enough martial arts schools. You should do some cross training. With that said, you don't pay for those schools, you pay for my school. So we have a plan of action in for that, because there was a lot of great feedback on this. So I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer or like I'm just going to defend it the whole time. We did, some of you were very specific about, what needed clean, and that was really helpful because it allowed for us to go, oh yeah, that. So for a good example was the restroom by the women's locker room. Probably doesn't get hit enough. So we're going to make sure we're hitting that. You're going to see that Ed is making a cleaning list, and you'll see it, just like you see it, a lot of major chains and stuff, you'll see it displayed, and you'll be able to know that stuff's getting cleaned. The second one is the mats. So the way cleaning in the mat is supposed to work is we're supposed to, oh, there we go. This is what you're seeing. Okay, beautiful. You're supposed to have, we have like a Swiffer, and it's not like a true Swiffer. It's just basically it's got like a towel, for lack of better terms. Use that, then blow it off with a leaf blower, then mop it. And I think what happens a lot of times is guys get in a hurry at the end of the day or at the end of the night, and they just spray it and mop it. So we're going to make sure that process gets followed. I'm actually making up some posters on how to do that now, so that it gets followed more regularly and more appropriately. The other half of that is we do it pretty often, and that's the other thing you guys don't see is it's like, well, how often do these mats get cleaned? Again, I hate to keep making comparisons, but if you go to most schools, some of them don't clean their mats at all, or they do it like once or twice a week. Some of them don't wash their feet before they get on the mats, and these things are gross. So keep in mind, we clean our mats after every single class. So after the 6 a.m. classes, the mats get cleaned. After the 10 a.m. classes, the mats get cleaned. After the 5:30, 6:30, they get sprayed and mopped in between those. So they're very sanitary. Now, there's sometimes sanitized hair on them, and that is annoying, and I get it. So that's where we're going to make sure that, especially like at the 10 a.m., in the big breaks in between, that those get done better, and that's going to keep that hair from accumulating, and it gets blown off, and then it gets swept to the side and then pulled to the front. So we're just going to do a better job with that, and you should see that already. I also went across the mat, spent an hour last night. There's like little, just because it's vinyl and the way it works, like there's little pieces of string that kind of stick out. So I cut all those off just because they look tacky. Working on like, there's spots where, just like the silk screening on people's, brand name stuff comes off and gets stuck onto the mat. Like I was scraping some of that off as I see it, and as I come across it. So we're working on that, and so I appreciate it. The next thing, someone was unsure about how long the spray should stay on there. They're like, you should just spray it and let it sit. That is untrue. So that can work, except for something called cohesion. If you're using an aerosol, you don't get as much cohesion, but we're not using an aerosol. Cohesion is the tendency for fluids to collect into little dots, if you will, little pools. So what you need to do is you spray it, and the stuff we're using is called Mat Attack, and Mat Attack sanitizes within the first 2 minutes. So if it just stays wet with the Mat Attack for 2 minutes, it's sanitary. And then it kills 99% of germs if it stays wet for 10 minutes. So it definitely stays wet for 10 minutes most of the time. But the reason for the mopping isn't to get rid of the fluid. It's to spread it evenly across the mat and make sure that it actually gets sanitized completely. Otherwise, you just get little droplets everywhere and anywhere the droplet wasn't at, that doesn't get sanitized. So that's how that works. Spent a lot of time working on that kind of stuff in hospitals and stuff too. So yeah, it's something I know pretty intimately. So that's the cleaning. So, we appreciate it. We're working on it. I still believe even before that, we're the cleanest martial arts school you're going to walk into, but now we're going to be even cleaner. The only example that might be cleaner because it's brand spanking new would be like Strong Style in Broadview Heights, because it's brand new. But trust me, over time, they all get grime. And the mats we use, the reason we use it, it's a nice smooth top, as opposed to like a tatami finish. Because if you look at those tatami, look down in the little cracks in them, it is disgusting. I hate that stuff. The next one, schedules. I'm not going to go into all the details on the schedule changes, but the big thing that I got out of it is people really didn't enjoy the switch that we made, for the most part, to make it an hour and 15-minute class. The instructors loved it because it gave us more time to teach you and add value to the classes, but it kind of changed the dynamic between how it overlapped with the kids. It also changed the dynamic of the number of classes per evening, and that made things tough for some people. So we're just switching it back. With that said, there's not going to be 2 classes going on at the same time. Some people would like more of that. The thing I can say is we barely have enough people in a 7:30 class to support 1 class, let alone 2. So you're going to see that in almost all cases, if there's 2 classes going on at a time, they've been condensed to 1 class. That is to save cost on the academy, quite honestly, and then also because join that class. So for example, Monday night 7:30 is no longer going to be an open ranks class. That's competition class. Everybody should try to do that instead. If you can't stay for all 2 hours of it, because I know it's a longer training, just leave halfway through. It happens all the time. You can't be afraid to cater to your own schedule in that way. Tuesday night is Chris and Mark. They run their class. It's an open rank class. It's going to focus primarily on takedowns, but that's a very important part of jiu-jitsu. Wednesday night, we still have two of them. We have an MMA class, and we have my no-gi class, advanced no-gi. And then Thursday night is going to be a fundamentals class at 7:30. So lots of classes going on there at that 7:30 time slot. But that's always been the smallest time slot for us, even as far back as previous schools. So it's just not a popular time for most people. Most people, they're tucking their kids in. They want to be home and have had food by that time. So that's the majority. Most people, that 6:30 time slot is the most popular. All right. We're going to be officially adding the 10 a.m. open mat for 40-year-old plus on 2 Saturdays. It's been picking up steam, so it's there, and also an MMA class on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. We're going to use the same mat, and if it ends up being enough people that we've got to figure out how to make it work because there's too many people, then we'll figure that out when the time comes. But for now, I think it'll be just fine. Yeah, and then there's other little changes that'll happen there, but when I finally put out the full schedule, you'll see. There's going to be some changes to Tuesdays and Thursdays in the mornings. Specifically, the 10 a.m.s are going to go away. They're probably going to push to 11 a.m. With a 12 noon open mat on Tuesday, Thursday. So just people aren't showing up, and again, I pay people well, certainly better than anyone else pays their martial arts instructors. So it's important that, if I have people here to teach, that they have students to teach. So if they don't, I have to, make the business decisions there. So we're trying to see if that works better. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday are still 10 a.m. And that's the way it's going to be. Lots of requests I won't say lots. I've had requests for 6 a.m. open or 6 a.m. class on Fridays. That will almost never happen. I have no backup for it, and there's only so much I can ask for. If you guys don't know, most of the morning instructors, the 6 a.m. instructors, are volunteers, and I can't ask volunteers to give up so much time. So that is something that maybe in the future, when we have more black belts and more people who are able to volunteer to do something like that, we can re-examine. But for now, there is no plan to put a 6 a.m. on Fridays. What else? I'm trying to think of other schedule stuff. That's pretty much it on that. Someone had mentioned, like, hey, why don't we do it on this mat versus that mat? Because like when you walk in the main door, and 7:30 specifically, like you walk in and everybody's on the far mat and there's nothing going on the main mat. Man, the place looks empty, and that just makes it look dead. I don't care what mat you do it on. It's not that it needs to be on a specific mat. It's just that that's the bigger mat, and that's where the adults tend to prefer training. You can train on either mat. I don't care. So that's up to the instructor. As long as it gets cleaned, I don't care which one we do. Progress analysis. So this is always the most challenging thing in jiu-jitsu. Kendall and I were actually just having a discussion about it today. What can you do to ensure that you're going to have lots of progress in your jiu-jitsu? And you need 3 things. You need volume, in other words, lots of classes. You need consistency, so it's not just lots of classes in 1 week. It's lots of classes over time, over the course of a year. And you need quality control. You need something there saying, hey, do this, not that. The tap is usually enough to do that, but that's kind of the main thing. Now, it's very difficult in jiu-jitsu because it's not just a performance-based art. And what I mean by that is in karate, when I studied karate, you would do katas A, B, and C, and you would get belt A, and you do kata D, and you get belt B, and so forth and so on. You show moves 1, 2, and 3, and you get this belt. In jiu-jitsu, it's far more there's that didactic component, so to speak, but there's also a clinical component or a component where you have to actually be able to apply your knowledge, and that just takes time. So one of the things we've done is we've created, especially for the kids classes, because this was largely in the kids classes, was, man, it'd be nice to know what my kid is doing in class. One, show up to class. Parents, come to class and watch. I know we don't have a big lobby, I know, but you're welcome to come watch. So if you want to know what your kid's doing, come watch. Two, like, man, it would be nice to know at home what they did, because like, that way they could study it. Cool. That's a great thing. And then like a way to monitor the progress on that in some way. So we've created a progress analysis sheet, which I can actually pull up here. Give me 1 second. And in the progress analysis sheet that we'll do with your kid, let me focus on this while I do it. I can't do two things at once. I'm a good guy. Pulling it up. Sorry. Had to go to my graphic design program here. And it's moving slow because we're going live. And we'll print these up for the adults too, because some of the adults I think will like them and be interested in seeing them. Okay. Now I can go back to here, and I should be able to share that now. Let me stop sharing this one, and we'll start sharing this one. So you can see here, this is like a weekly progress tracker, and the idea is like, we'll put in the date. You can your kid's name will be on it, and on whatever the first class they come to that week is, they'll pick one of these up. They'll hand it to the instructor. The instructor will. These will already be pre-populated, guard pass, and it'll be specific as far as which guard pass or which move. Day one score, and there's a 1 through 5 here. They're just learning. They remember some parts, so like maybe they kind of know that they're supposed to get around. They can do it with some help. They know it without help, or they're able to use it while rolling live. So most people for most moves will be in this 4 rating, and that's kind of like a passing rating. 5 is outstanding, meaning that you're also using it while you're training. So that's how that will work. Now we're going to print up blank ones for the adults. You guys are welcome to grab them. I'll just keep them over there on the adult side. We'll print up a bunch of these. You can write in your own dates and all that kind of stuff. You're grown adults, you know how to write. For the kids, we're going to have it done for you though. So then we give it to your kid. They go home. They practice it at home. There's a spot for you to initial that they practiced it. And then day 2, they come back and we see if their score has improved. And then when we do reviewing, we give them a score for their review. So that's how that's going to work, and hopefully it'll help. So that's what we came up with. It's not perfect, but that's about the best you can do with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm sorry, it's a challenging art in that way. So it's something that just takes a little bit of time. So those are the main things that we saw. The other stuff that I want to address, let me kind of come back to stop sharing, was we had a couple ladies ask about women's classes and stuff like that. We've tried women's classes in the past. It's never taken off, and that's since 2010. I have tried it about 6 different times with several different people trying to teach it. The fact is, just jiu-jitsu doesn't really attract a ton of women. 10% of our student body is women. This is for adult classes, and I know it may not seem that way because you might come and you're like, hey, I'm the only girl here. Well, don't forget, we have more classes than literally any school anywhere. I spent an hour and a half yesterday looking at schedules on many different schools, as far south as Columbus, as far as north as Cleveland, and we have more classes than anybody anywhere. And like, normally, if like in the old school, we had one adult class in the evening, so all the women were in the same spot. But now they get spread out. Some of them come to 5:30. Many come to the mornings. Most of our women's come to the morning classes. So, and that's 6 a.m. We have 2 or 3 women who come to that. At 10 a.m. we have 4 who come to that. And then you've got the evening classes, which have a handful of women as well. So there's lots of women who train. It's just a matter of when do they train? Do they train together? That kind of thing. So anytime you want to recruit, because the question came out, what is top level martial arts doing to recruit more women? Honestly, nothing. I'm not doing anything to recruit men or women. That's just who gets attracted to it. So it doesn't, from a business standpoint, it doesn't matter if there's women who come in the door or men who come in the door. I'm going to treat you all the same, right? You need you need to learn jiu-jitsu, I'm going to teach you jiu-jitsu. So it doesn't mean anything. So that's part of that. And I know that might sound rude or mean. I don't mean for it to sound that way. It's just what I've learned over time. The other thing is we have as many women as most schools do. It's just they're spread out because we have tons of classes. And the other thing I would say is most women don't want to learn jujitsu, or they, especially like self-defense stuff, from me. They want to learn it from other women. So if you're a woman in jujitsu, I highly recommend being the change you want to see and start recruiting more women to come to jujitsu with you. I know that's hard. Like I've been in martial arts since I was 4 years old, and I can tell you I've only gotten like 5 people ever to start martial arts. It's probably because I'm too intense about it. I'm too into it. But when it comes from me, hey, ladies, you need this. This is something that's good for you. It just sounds like I'm trying to sell people something because I own the place. So I don't do a lot of that. But if you really think it's a valuable thing for you and you think it's something that you want people to do, you should be telling your friends and your family, and you should be asking them to come to jiu-jitsu, or telling them, wherever they are, and maybe they live in Columbus, tell them to go to jiu-jitsu down there. Like wherever they are, you should be recruiting them to jiu-jitsu. That's the best I can say on that. With that said, Amy taught a 6-week self-defense course last year, and this year we're going to start doing a monthly free women's intro course to see how that goes, and that may blossom into something else too. Like I don't know, but in the end, like anytime I want to see change somewhere, we had someone who wanted to see some more hard training, and he was like, "Hey, can I just come in during times when the mat's not being used and bring in a few guys and we do certain training?" I said, "Yeah, sure. You could do the same thing. You could get the group of women together and say, hey, can we come in, Thursday night at 7:30? There's nothing going on the side mat. Can I use that? Yeah, sure. I'm not going to stop you from training." So, it's not your business. I know that, but like at the same time, from my point of view, it doesn't matter who comes in, men, women, children. From that perspective, it's just those are just memberships, right? So like as long as we're meeting the bottom line, and we're able to pay my staff, and we're able to take care of things, and we're able to still affect our community, I'm happy. So if you want more women, recruit more women. That's all I can say. I've spent roughly, I think I looked it up one time, but roughly $15,000 over the course of 10 years trying to recruit just women. And it's largely a waste of my time to just look for women. Just like it's a waste of my time to just look for men who are between the ages of 30 and 45. Like it's a waste of my time to market in that way. It doesn't work. We're too small scale for that. So, if we were a cardio kickboxing facility, that's all I'd be shooting for is women. But we're not. We're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu facility, and it has a little bit of a yuck factor to it. That's just how Jiu-Jitsu is. And a little bit of a dude factor to it, which is kind of just how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. And so those are the things that typically will make it a challenge to get women in the door. So all I can do is be respectful to the people who walk in and go from there. I don't have a better answer than that, other than we're trying different things, and I've tried many things in the past. And what I've come to realize is marketing specifically to women is a waste of my time. So there's your answer. I'm not going to market specifically to women, just like I don't market specifically to men. Anything else there? Let me see. I'm going to check there were a ton of things. People were asking for some more options for summer activities. Again, like these are things that would be great, but you need to have staff for. People asking. So this was an interesting one. Was to me was asking for more no-gi training. I mean, we literally have no-gi every single night of the week. So with the exception of Thursday. So I don't know how much more you want, but there's no-gi training available. And even Thursday, sometimes guys come in and do no-gi training on the side mat. So I don't know what else you want there. Like there's tons of no-gi training. Same thing with takedowns. So somebody was like, oh man, I wish we had more takedowns. Guys, Monday night, we have competition training, which is takedowns. We have Tuesday night Chris and Mark focus a lot on takedowns, even though that's not all they do. That is a big focus. Wednesdays, I teach judo. Thursdays, there's in my open ranks class specifically. Thursday, there isn't a focus on it. But we're in the fundamentals, and there's 4 takedowns in the fundamentals. Friday is again fundamentals. Saturday we have open ranks, which Kendall I know shows some takedowns sometimes, and Saturday or Sunday we do half of that competition class is takedowns. So I don't know how much more takedown work you want. Just understand that like we provide it. I can't force you to come. So if you have a weird work schedule that makes it tough to get to that I get it, but there's only so much we can do. But we have like 5 out of the 7 nights that we offer classes 7 days. At least we're open 7 days a week. Out of those 7 days, 4 of them have takedown work in them, which again is probably more than most other jiu-jitsu schools. We're also going to be adding MMA in on Saturday morning, so that's another area where you're going to have the ability to get more takedown work and striking work for that matter. So that's a big one that came up. A few people asked for, and again, like for anybody who doesn't understand my background, I was in the military. I fought in a war. So when people say, "Oh, I'm sleepy" or "I'm tired," that just sounds like an excuse to me. So I get it. You work, everybody works, everybody has kids, everybody's tired. But like sometimes your schedule is going to be challenging, and that's the way it is. And that's where you have to make a decision, right? Maybe the family can't, afford to have you away at certain times or whatever. And I get it, but at the same time, we offer a lot of takedown work. So I don't know when else we would put something in. I'm never going to make a judo specific class. I'm never going to make a wrestling specific class. Those are all part of jiu-jitsu. So it's about time as well. Like, sure, in 1 year, you might think, man, I don't know that many takedowns. But over the course of 5 years, 10 years, you're going to know quite a bit about taking people down. And it's a long-term skill. You're not going to learn it in a year or 2 years. So that's just how it is. The other thing is not a lot of people want to drill takedowns. Like a lot of people are 45, 50 years old. Judo's nickname is the Great Crippler. And it's called that because people tend to get injured doing it. So I don't know how much takedown work they even want to do at that point. I don't know that they're wrong for wanting to avoid it. So that's kind of where that stands. Dedicated white belt class for kids, separated by weight class. We separate them by age, not size. That's mainly because despite their size, they tend to learn at different levels at different ages. So that's important for us to be kids who generally, of course, some kids are just really smart and some are a little slower or a little more behind. But for the most part, kids between certain ages learn at certain paces. So the size is less important. And I know that can be challenging if you have like a big 12-year-old, or well, that's a bad example, a big 8-year-old. But it's better for them to be with other 8-year-olds. They don't do as well. And treating an 8-year-old like they're a 14-year-old usually does not end well socially. So keep that in mind too. Most everybody says that they're welcomed. They feel welcome. So I'm really glad about that. I'm kind of just reading through some of the responses right now. For anybody to hear, actually, I'll bring it up so you guys can see what I'm seeing. And I know this is kind of like a hodgepodge the way I'm doing this right now, but I think it just lets you see what's going on. Trying to be as transparent as possible. So you can see right now, I moved this because the names are all the way at the left-hand side of the paper. So I'm kind of just reading through the comments. More long sleeve rash guard options. You know what? I'm going to write that down. That's not a bad idea. That's only one person said it, but I'm sure others would like to have it. So that's easy enough for us to do. So I'm going to write that down. And a lot of you are just saying, hey, man, this place is great and really love it. So I really appreciate all those things. And some of you are just writing crazy, crazy awesome things, telling us how it changed your life. And that's amazing. Yeah, here's one we're talking about the 1 hour classes versus the 1 hour and 15 minutes. 6 a.m. Easier. I honestly think it's great as is. I would like more 6 a.m. classes. I mean, we have 4 a week. I don't know what you got going on there. Oh, a lot of people were writing. I had a lot of people who are. I apologize. I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. A lot of people who were former members that wrote in too, and so that's awesome. If any of you are seeing this, thank you for doing that. We try to focus on the culture. All right. Yeah. So I think I got most of the big things here. I'm in the middle of sports ball season. See you in 3 weeks. All right. I'll see you soon. I know how that is. Um, but again, like I think that we took care of most of the major concerns, and to me, like the biggest things are things that could cause health issues, right? Like cleanliness is definitely my number one concern. Always, we're running a mat sport, and I don't want people getting staph. I don't want people getting sick. Just remember that if it's cold and flu season, if you're coughing and stuff, stay off the mats until that's better. Keep your kid off the mat. The general rule of thumb is 24 hours without any symptoms, and you should be good to go. Um, but there was a lot of good ideas. Someone recommended, and I have a YouTube channel, so it's easy enough to do. But doing like a podcast with a different member every month or every week, I think that's a great idea. It's a matter of creating the time to do it. Like when would I film it with them? But easy enough to do. Um, I'm creating some student handbooks for adults. I already created them for the kids. Again, this is more to go with the progression stuff and make it easier to know what you need to do when. Of course, we have the app, but sometimes people aren't that tech savvy or whatever. So we'll have a student handbook for the adults coming up soon. I'm kind of waiting for some stuff from the Pater Sauer Association before I finalize that. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here that I had written down that was major. I think we covered everything. I think you're allowed to make comments. let me see if you're allowed. What's this? Oh no, that's okay. Stop sharing that guy. Um, I may have messed up the comments because I don't see any coming through, and I see some of you watching. So if you watch this with me, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. I would say leave a like and subscribe, but the likes don't do anything because it's a hidden video. But if you subscribe, that's nice. So maybe hit the subscription button. That's all I've got for this. If you guys have questions, do me a favor, hit me up. I didn't mean to be a Debbie Downer about anything if it felt that way. I'm just trying to be honest and open with everybody. Yeah. So, and again, like for this, I was looking at it more from the standpoint of my analytical mind, which is my business owner mind, something I've done for a very long time. And some of you guys like have gave good what would be what I consider intuitive feedback until you've done it long enough, and then you realize, oh, maybe it isn't that way, So if you don't see a change that you think, man, this should just be intuitive, there's a high probability that I've tried it out in the past and it just didn't work, and I've tried it multiple times because I'm the kind of person who, when I put something into effect, I try to do it for at least a year. So yeah, you'll see that over time, but yeah. Anyway, guys, let me know if you need anything else. Hopefully, the new women's program gets off the ground. Amy and I are working on that. And listen, if you're a lady out there and you want to see more women on the mat, do me a favor, get a hold of me. Me, you, Amy, we'll sit down, we'll talk. Amy and Laura and Jessica are our highest 3 ranking women. Jessica's about to be a brown belt. Amy and Laura are brown belts. Laura's sniffing at black belt somewhere, right? Don't mean to scare you, Laura, or put you on blast, but like we've got some really great talented women out there, and I would love to see you doing stuff with this, but that has to be something you want to do, and it has to be a change you want to see. So um, I'm happy to help in any way I can with that. But again, like I didn't. I feel like the way I came off was rude or mean or demeaning, and I don't mean for it to be that way. I'm just kind of coming at it with like the logical mindset of what's happened in the past. So anyway, um, I if you have more comments, I think I don't think this edit. This is going to let you put them here, but do me a favor, write them to me. You send me an email, send me a text. 330-281-5657. That's my number. I better keep this private then, huh? Send me a text. Won't bother me. And I hope to see you guys in class. I'll talk to you later. Let's see how I end the stream. I never do live streams. Let's see. I think it's just end stream. See ya.